It's not here. Oops. Yeah, I think you are, Akis, to be fair. Probably gonna wait for a couple of people. Let me put some background music on at least. Oops. Yeah, my headphones should be connected.
New Domino's cookies stuffed with a whole Cadbury cream egg. No, really.
Interesting. Strange. Yeah, I am live, yeah. I clicked on this song, but it's got a bloody YouTube. It had a YouTube ad on it, which was a bit surprising. Wait, let me turn this down a little bit more. It had a bloody YouTube ad on it, so there was that. But we're back. Check the time. I thought it was another hour. Did I put the wrong hour on? Oh, that's it. That explains everything. Oh. Right, okay. I put the wrong time completely. Bear with. No, that's on me. That explains why I think there was no notification put out. Where's the bloody thing? Oh, it doesn't matter. It's my bad. I put it at 6:40 instead of 5:40. No, I can see it on my screen, to be honest. Oh well, we move. People see the live notification, or we move. I'm just thinking, why is there no one waiting? But I guess no one's going to wait around for an hour. So yeah, as you can see, there's a bit I wanted to discuss about the UK going into recession. So I think, given the week that we have seen, it's going to be important. So let's just see if we can get a couple more people in before we start. Yeah, I'll kind of botch the start time. Yeah, the UK's, it feels it because the UK's been so stagnant. So yeah. So yeah, like yeah, no worries. It's because the UK economy's been like zero growth or like very low growth for so long now. So it makes sense, like it does feel like we've been in a recession because the Tories keep celebrating not going into recession. Alright, this song's almost done. Okay. Plus hyperinflation. We haven't had. Oh, that's not hyperinflation. Hyperinflation is when your currency loses complete value. I wouldn't say that was hyperinflation.
There are mainly really three big headlines now.
Okay. Just gonna check some volume. Hello all. So that's not hyperinflation. That's not hyperinflation is like Turkey or like the Weimar Republic, Weimar Germany, when like their money would lose value by the time they got home. Like it's honestly kind of nuts when you think about it. Like by the time you got paid, your money was worth less than when you got to the shop. Worth more. No, what are those? You know what I'm saying. It is trash, basically. Alright, I need to stop being distracted by my... What the hell? Yeah, no, I need to stop being distracted by this. Exaggerating, to be honest. Yeah. But, yeah, this was interesting. So, it's from the BBC. I really hope that Google or someone out there managed to make a good dark mode for every website, like some sort of plugin. Like, I pray for the day that I won't be blinded when I switch tabs. I pray. Just gonna open this can quick. Bear with. Okay. Oh, of course. People, I'll tell you guys, stop mentioning their tabs. But someone out there who thinks they're too clever mentions their tabs. Yeah. Do you know what? The problem with the notification is I put it on for the wrong time. I put it for 6:40 rather than 5:40, which was my bad. It's mostly because I'm used to the analog clock rather than the digital clock, if that makes sense. I'm not a 1400 hours kind of guy. Joe, I might cover the Navalny stuff actually at some point, but I want more information to come out because I think they probably killed him off, to be honest, especially given that a load of journalists were arrested. So, do you know what? Let's get a clip out on that. Because it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if he was killed off. Bear with. I'm just gonna load this clip up over here. We'll talk about that at the end if we got time. I got a strict 7 o'clock-ish cut-off time as well. So just bear that in mind, everyone.
That this was a murder. Putin has tried to murder Navalny multiple times, and the reason is to silence that dream of freedom that so many Russians have and that he represented.
A year ago, you were already calling for more sanctions before you said Alexei Navalny.
All right, let me know if there's any audio issues as well, because on my videos I can fix it in post, whereas on my live stream I can't do it. Do you guys see what I'm saying? Like, what's going on here? Like, why can't BBC, with all this taxpayer money, all the license fee paying money, get dark mode on their website? Ridiculous. But moving on, right? So the recession, the BBC have put it down to people spending less, doctor strikes, and a fall in school attendance. Now, I ain't gonna lie. I think one of these caused it more than the others. I think it's the people spending less because they don't have much money. Compared to doctor strikes, how are doctor strikes going to bring the country into a recession? The economy shrank by larger than the expected 0.3 between... Just reading this, so they knew the economy was going to shrink, but it shrank more. Is the audio bad? Is it too quiet? Because I can't move. I physically really cannot move this closer to my mouth. The problem is my software says my audio is fine. That's what does my head in. Like, OBS is so washed, honestly. When it comes to like audio and things like that, it's absolutely washed. But anyways, the latest figures over whether Rishi Sunak has made his pledge to make the economy grow last year. The government has never publicly said what measures would look like. I guess it would be just growth consistent. But then again, if it grows one quarter, he can say, look, I grew the economy. Okay, good stuff. Based on the measure, Sunak's promise has not been fulfilled because the UK economy shrank by 0.1% July to September. For the whole of 23, the economy grew by 0.1%. We did it, guys. 0.1%. Nevertheless, excluding the COVID years, the annual growth figures is the weakest since 2009. Reeve said, well, Sunak's plans in tatters. No worries, Sock. The observation difference between the prolonged stagnation and actual recession is basically non-existent. It's just a lack of technical recession from a... Yeah, that's true. You know, the problem is, if you're at 0% growth, you're technically not in a recession. It's once you go minus. But I still think 0% growth should have its own term, to be honest, because it's not positive. It just means you're stagnant. You're exactly staying where you are. GDP is a key measure of economic activity. Even though I don't think GDP should be. GDP is massively overrated, I think. So if GDP is going up steadily, people pay more in taxes because they're earning and spending more. This means more money for the government that it can spend on public services such as schools and hospitals and giving it away to Baroness Moan. Government is also likely keeping an eye on how much they're borrowing, which again, our debt to GDP ratio is lower than some other countries that are doing a lot better than us. It just depends on what you're spending the money on. So we can see here, not doing great at all. We're in a technical recession, but I think we might be in an actual recession when the next figures come out. So that should be interesting, because I can't imagine he's going to call, despite the fact that some really pro-Labour goons and the Labour Party want an election in May. I think it's going to be in the autumn. They're going to hope maybe by the time the summer rolls around, so be end of Q2, maybe they can say we're out of a recession. We're in recession, we just come out. When the 2016-17 200,000 Polish moved out of the UK, that is a lot of GDP that left the UK economy. Yeah, it is, people that would spend money. People would work and spend money. That's what we've lost. So we move. We're going to talk about this.
To now get behind Rishi Sunak, who actually inherited a difficult set of circumstances, and say, yes, he has turned the economy round. That is turning round now. When you talk about inflation...
just gone into recession?
No.
The UK's just gone into a recession.
Yeah, okay.
Vote reform. Are you stupid, bruv? We've got a troll. We have a clown. JC Vastgoed. You are not a clown. You are the entire circus.
Those figures were from the end of last year. And you're right, it was a technical recession, and it's a shallow recession.
Oh, yeah, it's only shallow recession, guys. All right, Akis. Okay. All right, big man. We've got some more here.
The Chancellor has attempted to shrug off today's economic blow.
Do you know what? I'm going to have to stop. I'm going to have to unfollow Farouk at this rate, because the clips he posts are awful. I'm going to have to unfollow him. Sorry, bro. The audio quality on his clips is bad. Here we go.
The UK is in officially a recession because in the last 6 months of the year the economy shrank. There were 3 months between July and September where it went down just a small bit. 0.1% was the...
So are we not technically? It's 2 quarters. If you have negative growth for 2 quarters, that's a recession, right? So we're already in it. Shallow recession, that's a new term. I don't think it is a new term.
Percentage that...
I think that would have been a term coined under David Cameron when he had the double dip.
The economy shrank, but the statistics we've just had published in the last few seconds are worse, I think, than most people were expecting. The economy shrank another 0.
Thank you, Mithril, as always. Carrying the channel. See, thanks, Mithril. That's great. Really appreciate that.
0.3%.
Mithril is the MVP. Fair point. Just never heard the expression shallow. Yeah, I don't. Oh, to be fair, if we think about the last 14 years, there's only been a double dip recession. It goes back to the 1980s. You millennials. Oh no. Oh no. I'm being roasted for being young. Oh no. Oh man. Oh man. Oh man.
In the last 3 months of the year, that includes...
So this is 2 quarters really of bad growth, isn't it? So in the summer it was minus 0.01, and now we've got minus 0.3, I think.
Includes the busy Christmas trading period.
Yeah, that makes sense. to be fair, in the UK, nothing's functioning.
Things like that. So it paints a pretty difficult picture, actually, for where the UK is, both in terms of the economy as a whole, that have an impact on public spending, on what the government can and can't do, have a big political impact, which we can talk about a bit later as well. So remember, Rishi Sunak promised to deliver economic growth. Things are going the other way. I want to bring in an expert on some of this stuff. Chris Breen, morning.
Well, he's just there. He's right there. He just stood. It always makes me laugh. Like this guy's standing off screen waiting for his moment in a fruit market.
Chris, an economist from the Centre for Economic.
Hi, Purple. If you don't know, the UK is in recession at the moment.
And business research. Chris, put this in a bit of context for us. It is a recession, but how bad is it?
Yeah, thank you very much. You're right that it is now a recession, and today's data was slightly worse than we expected. But we do think that actually this will be the end of the recession. Remember, this is backwards-looking data. It's looking at the last few months of 2023.
So we could be out of it already?
I think, yeah, most economists and we think that we are already out of that recession. And if you look at the sort of, 0.1, 0.3%, this is a very shallow recession by the sort of, if you look at the previous recessions that we've had.
Yeah, he's talking about the '08 crash, really. But we also did have the Cameron double dip recession. Bear with me. Let me see if I can find it. Cameron double dip recession. So there was this. So Britain has shrunk back into recession, its first double dip since the 1970s. So this is old. This is obviously under Cameron. So it shrank by 0.2% between January and March, following a 0.3% contraction in the fourth quarter of last year. The shock downturn. So it would be. Where are we? Red. That doesn't really help. It is kind of nuts though that David Cameron, despite having a double dip recession, a 14-year-old economic expert. Come on, now he doesn't look 14. No 14-year-old's gonna have that kind of haircut. Come on, guys, stop being mean. So out of recession before. No, that's not how it works. This is backdated data. So what that means is we were in a recession because the data comes out after the quarter. So if you look at it now, the data has just come out, and this is 2 quarters ago, basically. Q4 of last year. The haircut alone is 14 years. Matt, you guys are actually mean. You guys are actually mean. This guy, actual economist, and you guys are rinsing him. You guys are mean. That's wrong. That is. Has he got a name? Who's this man? Christopher Breen, Centre of Economics and Business Research. You guys are being mean to him. The thing is, a recession has been driven by people unable to spend money. Yes, that's correct. That's something we discussed in this article. Basically, it's this here: people spending less. That's what's caused this. So yeah, going back to that, James, we are not out of the recession. What's happened is that there was, I think, negative growth in I'm going to say Q4, no 3. Then negative growth in Q4. And we've just got the data for Q4 now. So it's very possible we're out, considering how shallow it was. And GDP growth is based on the last quarter. So if we grow by 0.1%, we're technically out of recession, which is dumb. EU forecast is 0.9% for 2024. Yeah, but we don't discuss them around here. We don't talk about them. Brexit happened, we left the EU. I did want to discuss the by-election results as well, because it was a bit weird, to be honest, seeing some of the analysis on it. It was, I don't know what to see. I'm oldish. I'm allowed to be mean. Maybe. But there is this. So the by-election results are in. It's actually quite interesting, but I've seen a lot of different analysis on it, and it just makes me wonder. Is laughing from Spain got out before Brexit? Sorry for the gloat. I don't think I've got an appropriate soundboard for that one, really. I don't think I've got the thing for it. Maybe this.
I know you understand.
This is Rishi Sunak saying the country has to go into recession. But yeah, maybe we're walking into hell a bit. Maybe I need to pull out the soundboard a little bit. But yeah, this is Do you know, I was looking at these election results last night. I was trying to figure out trying to figure it out, because for the life of me, it's very, well, there's two different things here, right? You got the percentage change and you got the raw numbers. So if we look at, hi Sabine, if we look at the percentage change, it looks drastic. It looks huge. Like, look at the size of these numbers. You would think Labour was smoking the pack, really, because the 20% increase here, 11% in Kingswood. You look at the Tory vote, completely collapsed, -21, -37. Reform taking about 13% and 10.4% respectively. The Lib Dems doing very badly in Kingswood. Maybe some tactical voting going on there. Let's see. Greens doing well, but then doing badly in Wellingborough. I think it's probably down to tactical voting, maybe. Because these were former Conservative safe seats. So it's very possible that maybe the people who voted Green or voted Lib Dem typically decided to vote Labour in Wellingborough. But the people who voted Lib Dem typically in Kingswood, maybe they went for Labour. We can't afford to buy anything anymore. I remember Gordon Brown cutting prices to stimulate the economy. I was amazed that happened. Well, to be fair, Brown cut VAT, didn't he? Brown cut VAT, but it didn't make that much of an impact because the businesses didn't pass the savings on. That's one of the things I remember from that time. He cut VAT to 15%, I'm going to say. It didn't help that much. So there was that. I think maybe they could do a thing where SMEs pay less VAT. Maybe that would be a good way to help small businesses. I don't know. But I think they only pay VAT after a certain point. Hey, whoa, I don't think that will happen this time round. They did that last time. It didn't really help them that much. There is the MAGA argument of if you add the Reform vote and the Tory vote, the Tories would win. That doesn't make sense, because if they were going to vote Tory, they would have done so. I guess you can make the argument because it's a by-election. People don't care as much, but the thing that kind of I find a bit weird is this, right? When you look at the raw numbers, that's where it gets a bit odd. Finland's economy is in recession too, and the recovery will be slow. I am worried about it. No, because I know there will be a recovery. I'm not seeing it from the UK. It's supposed to come from. Did Labour grow the vote, or see this is the question, QA. This is the question that I will now answer, because this is the thing I was a bit worried about. Because I read this tweet from Goodall, and then I saw this tweet down here. They use percentage vote instead of the number of vote. Now I don't know who this Joe Belcher geezer is. Also Green Party, right? Okay, that makes sense. I thought he's some reform. He could have been some reform goon, but he's not. So when we look at this, right? This is Wellingborough. Now we're gonna break this down as best I can, right? I don't know how clear this is on the screen. Let's see. It's going to be a bit tricky, I think, to see on your screens if you're on mobile, but bear with me here. So let's start with the 2019 election, right? Peter Bone, actual douchebag, right? 32,000 votes. Labour, 13,737 votes, right? So I was like, okay, you look at the percentages, right? Labour winning 26.5% of the vote back in 2019, whereas now they won 45.9% of the vote with only slightly higher votes, and you're like, what? You're thinking, what? Like, what's happened here? And then you realise the Tory vote is completely collapsed. Completely collapsed. People did not turn out. The turnout is so low. Look at that turnout: 51,000 in 2019, 30,000 in 2024. You can see that the turnout percentage is so low. It's not quite half, but it's so low. To be fair though, at least with Finland, like they have high living standards and stuff. Like if they have a dip, it's not that bad. In the UK, it's complete trash anyways. Our living standards are trash anyways. If they go down further, it just gets infinitely worse. European petitions, what? Out for grabs. You think they'll pass them up? What? Doesn't even make sense. So carrying on, when we look at these, right? Labour's vote barely increased in raw numbers. increased by... didn't increase, went down. It went down. I'm looking at the wrong one because I was talking about Kingswood. I was thinking of Kingswood, I think, but Labour's... no, I was looking at the wrong numbers, that's why. I was thinking of Kingswood. Alright, brain's rattled. Anyways, trying to jump ahead too much. Anyways, when you look at the Conservative vote, the Labour vote, 13,844 in 2024. 2019, it was 13,737. What? Yeah, well, the French protesting style. But when you look at the two, right, it's barely gone up by that much, just over 100. Tory vote completely collapsing, with them losing 37% of the vote share. But also, they've lost over 20,000 votes. And that hasn't correlated. Like, it wasn't really another party grabbing those votes by the looks of it. It was just that their voters didn't turn up. Their voters did not turn up. You can see it. You can see it in the turnout. Turnout was 20,000 people less, which is normal for a by-election. But what makes me nervous is Labour didn't really get that many voters out. You know, they got out maybe 100 extra people to vote for them. They won because the Tory vote collapsed. And that's something we saw with some of the Lib Dem wins, like Chesham and Amersham, I think, where the Tory vote, they didn't bother to come out. Ben Habib, you know, winning around almost 4,000 votes is big. But, like, I just think that the Tory voters who voted Reform only did so to kick it to the Tories. Otherwise, they wouldn't have bothered to turn out. At least that's my kind of analysis for it anyways. It's kind of my take on it. Like, the Tory vote just completely collapsed here. That's the tail of the tape here, I think. If we look at Kingswood, Kingswood's even worse in some ways. Because when you look at it, right, you got Labour winning 44% of the vote share. You have a turnout which is incredibly low, which again is over half, but not much over half. Apathy does win again. Apathy stays winning. You know, look at that. You know, it's almost half. It's very close to being half the turnout. Really, when you look at it, and you look at Labour, 11,176. Labour 16,000 in 2019. So they've got, again, this is even weirder because they've got less votes than they did in 2019. If you really wanted to make the argument about the Conservatives and Reform having more votes than Labour, I think you could make that argument looking at the numbers. But again, like, we live in the first past the post system. All you need is one more votes than the other person in your seat, and that's it. If you make that argument, then you got to throw in the Greens to Labour and also the Lib Dems to Labour. But I think what we're seeing again is the Lib Dem vote going to Labour. Tory voters switched to Labour, and traditional Labour stayed home. I don't know if it's necessarily Tory votes going to Labour. I think we've seen Tory. I think it would be the case that we'd see Tory votes go more to Reform than anything. But I think the Lib Dem vote, if you look at Lib Dems minus 3.5, I think the Lib Dem vote went to Labour. Chris Skidmark, I don't think he was. Is that his name, Skidmark? Isn't it? His name is Skidmore. His name is Chris Skidmore. I don't think that guy was a bad dude either. What did he resign over? He resigned over green stuff. Yeah, like, let's leave. Put some respect on Chris Skidmore's name. Okay, let's put some respect on Skidmore's name. Doesn't explain the drop in the Greens. The Greens didn't drop, to be fair. The green vote in Kingswood didn't drop. We can see that. So it's possible maybe some of the Lib Dem voters switched to Green. I don't know. It's hard to know. Skidmore, yeah. I retract the statement. Yeah, he's a good dude. Well, you know, as good as Tories can be. That's as good as a Tory can be. All right. As good as a Tory can be. That's the motto. Look at that. The raving Nick the Flying Brick running in this one, winning 217 votes. Shouts out to the voters for Nick the Flying Brick. Brick as in BRICK, not the other word. It's not a high bar to pass, yes, but he has passed it. Anyways, so this from Reform.
Because we've got the policies. Tories are terrified of us because we've got the policies that make sense, that bluntly will save Britain, and they realise that, you know, they've had their opportunity.
Again, if the audio is low, just let me know.
They've blown it, they've messed up the economy, they've allowed mass immigration, they're obsessed with net zero, the Labour Party is the same. So no, people are actually voting positively, saying, thank heavens, there's someone who's arrived on the scene who's got...
Yeah, thank heavens, bro. You won. I mean, you did well in Wellingborough, I guess. But again, you won 13% and 10% of the vote. Like, you didn't win, son. You didn't win. Like, you know, there's no such thing as an honourable loss in politics. You lost.
Some good policies that will...
What policies do you have? John, should we have a look? No, we'll save it for another week. We'll do a reform. When the manifestos come out, we'll do a manifesto review, like a live stream on it. Yeah, I mean, they're one in, one out immigration policy, dumb. Reform got the money and party apparatus to stand. Do you know what, right? In a world where a certain country was not sanctioned, maybe a certain bankman could do it, but we don't know. Maybe. But we don't know. Let's listen to some John Curtis.
Well, there are mainly really three big headlines, Naga. The first is that they confirm that the Conservatives are still in deep, deep electoral trouble.
The stuff you love to hear. The things you love to hear. The Tories are in deep electoral trouble. You love to hear it.
The 21-point drop in their support in Kingswood is in line with the 19-20-point drop that they're currently suffering in the opinion polls. The 37 to 38-point drop in Wellingborough is actually the biggest Tory loss.
If the audio is unmanageable, let me know, because it's a bit iffy.
The Conservatives have ever managed to suffer in a post-war by-election. Now, it may well be that the circumstances surrounding Peter Bone's downfall and his replacement by his partner perhaps added to the party's woes in Wellingborough, but there is no gainsaying the fact that this morning we are still looking at a government that at the moment is staring defeat in the face at the next general election. Headline number 2, however...
Oh, well, Chelsea just scored against Man City. Interesting.
...is that the Conservatives' troubles are no longer simply confined to losing votes to Labour. Reform UK, who hitherto haven't been doing particularly well in by-elections, but who supported increased recently in the polls, now have begun in these by-elections to...
Yeah, I think their funding might be cooked, honestly. Reform UK reminds me of the far-right RN party in France. They'll eventually eat away at the Tories' votes and replace them. That's my fear. That's my fear. To the classic French right. That's my fear, is that whatever... We are, I think this year, I think this year we might see the end of the Tory party. I think this year we might see lifelong City supporter, get out. We might see the end of the Tory party. We might. And you know, I'm happy about that. I'm more than happy about it. But the problem is, I don't know what replaces them, and I think the thing that replaced them might be infinitely worse. To be honest with you. Is that looping? No, it doesn't loop. Okay, so that's the thing I'm worried about. Of the proper National Front, I'm guessing you're saying. One in, one out works in a nightclub. Not for immigration. What if someone dies? Well, I guess so. Worse for you guys, dumb. Well, I say that worse is not a word, so... if the Tories aren't the main opposition party, there's little reason to keep buying their MPs. That's true, but it just depends on what's worse. Wow, we have 41 viewers in the stream. That's mad. That's quite high.
Put votes in the ballot box. 13% in Kingswood.
This might be one of the highest. I think this might be the highest I've ever had, actually, for a stream. This is great.
13% in Wellingborough, 10% in
Maybe
Kingswood.
It's the title. Maybe people are here for seeing the Tories get smoked. Or the NDL. The Nico Defence League. Are you talking about the Nico Defence League? Hold up. The NDL. The Nico Defence League. Are you talking about these? What is the Nico Defence League? You talking about my man here, Nico? The NDL, the Nico Defence League. My boy. This guy is so funny sometimes. It honestly makes me laugh. Let's see if I can find it. Nico. This one, this is... Let's see if we can find it. There it is. Oh, it's taking me to Facebook. No. Oh, no, I can't. Oh, it's on TikTok. Oh, what's this on? YouTube, here we go. This is classic YouTube.
We're back here with
Hannah.
Hannah, and let your heart out on camera, Hannah.
Right, basically, they need to get them all off.
Okay, that's mad. Okay, so wait, off our streets.
Yeah.
So
they're our streets.
And they're taking our jobs.
Yeah.
This is the real NDL, the Nico Defence League.
They're taking our houses. They're taking the lot.
And they took your teeth as well.
Yeah, they did.
So, that one there was a...
That's the NDL, guys. That's the real NDL, the Nico Defence League. Put some respect on his name. But yeah, no. What's it called? Yeah, that if you say NDL to any young person, they might think of the Nico Defence League. Yeah, the extremes are coming to the fore. It's a bit scary, isn't it?
That means for the Conservatives that we know from the opinion polls is that for every one voter who's switching from Conservative to Labour, there's now another one who's switching to Reform.
Right, that's interesting then. Okay. That's interesting. Right, so they're losing. Sorry, Maj, you're right. Much better. The Nico Defence League.
And while not everybody who voted for Reform would have voted Conservative if they couldn't vote for Reform, they'll come disproportionately from the Conservatives. And it just means that that coalition of Leave voters, pro-Brexit voters that took Boris Johnson to victory in 2019 is just fragmenting further as Reform now...
It's that populist far-right bloc. It's crumbling. Is the audio okay?
...threaten to take more votes away from the Conservatives. That leaves Labour, headline number 3, as the beneficiaries. 2 more by-election gains. 2 seats where the swing required for them to win was...
It's audible. Okay.
...of what they need to win a general election overall majority. And while you can quibble at the edges about the fact that Labour's support is basically only up about half as much as the Conservative support is down, the truth is, I think today, Sir Keir Starmer looks as likely to be the next Prime Minister as he did 24 hours ago, if indeed...
That is true. I think we are seeing that. I think he's right there.
Not even more so.
Okay, that's a really good overview, John. Thanks very much for that. So, just to extrapolate, are you often when we talk about by-elections, you know, we're going to be talking to all parties today, but when they talk about by-elections, often the government in power says...
Yeah, good, not great. Yeah, I had a feeling. How old is JC? Jeremy Corbyn, I have no idea. You're talking about John Curtis, I'm not sure, but he gets summoned every election, every electoral thing.
Well, they're always an indicator. There was a reaction to the government in power. They're not really a key indicator or a crucial or a decisive indicator about a general election. But what you're saying is that these are indicating an outcome at the general election.
Well, they are indicative of the current position we are at. There are still 9 months or so to go until the general election, and things could change. And certainly what is true, if you're going to make sense...
He was there in ancient Greece during the votes.
These things, you shouldn't be saying...
Damn! 70 years.
Oh, well, if there were a general election tomorrow, the Labour Party would have got a 28% swing in Wellingborough. But what you should be doing is comparing by-elections with by-elections. The last time we saw a government losing by-elections with the regularity which the Conservatives have been doing so in this Parliament. They've lost 9 in this Parliament, although they did gain 1 in Hartlepool. The last time a government did...
That was very early on, I think, in the election cycle. That was very early on they won that.
With these kinds of swings, it was the 92 to 97 Parliament that ended in serious defeat for John Major's Conservative Party. In other words, we seem to be, as the opinion polls are also saying, in a very similar place as we were in the run-up to...
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I don't think Starmer's that far away from like a David Cameron top government. I think that's what we'll see for their first 5 years anyways.
1997. Now, maybe history won't repeat itself, but the truth is the Conservatives are going to have to defeat the historical record to come back from where they are. Second caveat that politicians will say, and they're quite right, the turnout is low. And indeed, it's been a feature of by-elections in this Parliament. The turnout has been falling quite markedly. You have to go back to the 1997 to 2001 Parliament to find a similar regularity of falls in turnout. But I think that the conclusion to draw from that is not that somehow or another that the Conservative Party will be able to win lots of voters back very easily, as opposed to the fact that all of our parties are facing an electorate which is deeply discontented, deeply pessimistic, and at the moment are not entirely sure that it's worth their shoe leather to go to the polls at all. And we, at the moment, I think, are heading potentially for another record low turnout in the forthcoming general election.
Yeah, I agree. I think in the UK and the US, we're going to see very low turnouts in these elections because you got two candidates who look garbage. Is it quiet? If it's quiet is the issue, I can fix that. I can tell the volume. It's just there's like a vibration I don't like. If it's quiet, I can fix that. That's not a problem. With the other stuff, like with what he's saying, I 100% agree with. Like, agreeing with a man who's an expert on elections. That's a bit of a stupid. It's not the most groundbreaking thing in the world. Did you see Techi Sunak claimed? Yeah, I did see some stuff like that. I think we got a couple clips of that. But point being is, like, I can see a very low turnout in the general. Very low turnout.
John, it's really interesting when you examine the pressure that the leaders of both parties, the Conservatives and the Labour Party, are under. Our chief political correspondent, Henry Zeffman, has said that Keir Starmer has had one of the worst weeks in his leadership as Labour leader.
Yep.
Have you seen any bearing of that on, or any influence of that on these by-elections?
Great question.
Well, I think it's very difficult to argue in these by-elections that when the Labour Party ends up with the second biggest swing from the Conservatives in post-war electoral history, that we can argue that these by-elections indicate that the Labour Party has suffered because of the arguments about its candidate in Rochdale, which polls in 2 weeks' time, or indeed the reversal of the decision on the 28 billion investment fund. And we've had one poll out yesterday evening suggested Labour support might be down a couple of points since before the Rochdale row, but frankly that is too small a read upon which to ground anything at all. Points since before the Rochdale, the reversal of the decision on the 28 billion investment fund. And we've had one poll out yesterday evening suggested Labour support might be down a couple of points.
Yeah, that's negligible. That if it's most polls have what's it called, a margin of error around 3% either way. So again, like that's negligible. That is.
Since before the Rochdale row.
57 for the khaki election in 1918. I can see. Oh, do you know what? I don't think it'll be. Oh, that's tough. That's tough. That is 57%. You're talking about just over half the electorate turning out. That's nasty. That is.
But frankly,
I wonder why the turnout was so low in the generation. That would have been 19. Trying to remember the years World War One was. Was it? That would have been just after World War One, wouldn't it? That's nuts.
Too small a read upon which to ground anything up.
All right, let's leave that be. Let's leave Sir John Curtis here. War just ended. Right. Oh, okay. Excuse me. So we've got some cope.
Is to block Conservatives winning seats and therefore put Keir Starmer into Downing Street. They've made it very clear. You've read out that statement from them. That's what Reform UK want to do. They want to see Keir Starmer in Downing Street.
This is great. It's vote Reform, get Keir Starmer. This is like when the Tories said vote for the SNP, vote for Labour, end up with the SNP or some nonsense.
And not have a Conservative government.
But they're also taking votes away from the Conservatives. They're achieving that, aren't they? So you're losing votes to Reform.
I really wish in these interviews they would have like an earpiece.
I think it's very clear, as the statement from Reform said, that they're trying to block Conservatives winning seats. You're absolutely right. They want to see us lose seats. You're absolutely right, and that means.
I mean, to be fair, Reform UK. Yeah, he got burned, yeah. Reform UK would be the biggest beneficiaries of the Tories being voted out of office, or second biggest beneficiaries of it.
In Keir Starmer in Downing Street, it's quite clear from the results today. Reform aren't challenging realistically for seats. This next general election is going to be a battle between Conservatives and the Labour Party. All Reform are going to do, as they've said themselves, is going to help put Keir Starmer...
Didn't know they said that. I didn't see the initial statement.
Elections are always difficult for incumbent governments, and the circumstances of these by-elections were, of course, particularly challenging. Now, I think if you look at the results, very low turnout, and it shows that we've got work to do to show people that we are delivering on their priorities.
You know, the first way, the most important thing when it comes to elections is to get the vote out, and both parties kind of failed at it, but at least Labour's base still turned out for the most part. This man's base did not turn out.
And that's what I'm absolutely determined to do, but also shows that there isn't a huge amount of enthusiasm for the alternative in Keir Starmer and the Labour Party, and that's because they don't have a plan. And if you don't have a plan, you can't deliver real change. And when they...
I don't know, man, your plan's kind of ass, to be fair. So, you know, if it's the idea that Labour don't have a plan, that's why people didn't really vote for them. I mean, I guess your plan must suck. Your plan must be worse than having no plan.
General election comes, that's the message I'll be making to the country. Stick with our plan, because it is starting to deliver the change that the country wants and needs.
Yeah, no, that's fraud. That's... Excuse me, hello, police. I'd like to report fraud. Thomas, are you Hugh, the rugby commentator? A base always turns up is the only hope Tories have. I mean, yeah, when you look at this, right, I mean, this is a collapse. This is a collapse. Minus 20% percentage swing, but it's pissed me off. Look at that, 8,000. 8,000 of their voters turned out compared to 27,000 for Skidmore. And when you look at the difference here, it's almost at 20,000 votes, I think. No, it's more. It's more than 20,000, isn't it? That didn't turn up. It's kind of nuts. Like their base did not come out at all. Their base genuinely did not come out at all, and that's what cost them here. That's what cost them. Stick with our plans, Kieran.
Midterm.
Yeah, because his plans are trash. His plans are trash. How are you going to deal with inflation? We're not. It's like, okay. And this from Dr. Khan kind of made me laugh. How the Tories drove Britain into recession when they talk about how worklessness and school truancy, how the Tories got us into recession. Do you know what? Let's put this where it belongs, which is next to that BBC article. That made me laugh though. So what else we got? We got some more for John Curtis. We've gone over this clip already, so let me bin this one. Do you know what? Actually, we'll bin this one, and then we'll put that one there. This from Goodall.
The Conservative Party cannot win by-elections anymore. It won the one in Uxbridge, which was, as we said on this show at the time, despite the fact lots of people getting very excited about it, sui generis. It was a unique set of circumstances. And of course, Conservative politicians are rightly getting extremely scared. And if I were Rishi Sunak, and I were in number 10 Downing Street, the thing I would be most worried about is this. Have we got to that point in an electoral cycle, which only happens now and again in British politics? You think we've only had...
Yeah, they kept talking about, aspirational voters and all of this stuff. It's just not there. They've killed social mobility. Let's be honest now. The interest rate rises. With the interest rate rises, the cost of living crisis, they've killed social mobility 100%. The people that could have afforded houses had their deals and principles pulled. It's finished. They've been seen to, that's the problem with just looking at GDP growth, because you can have bad quarters and it will make you can have periods where you have low growth and it makes the overall statistics look bad. If your economy is growing consistently by a couple of percentage points, and at some point you have 0.3% growth or whatever, that looks awful in the statistics. But if you're at 0% and you're consistently staying at around 0.1, 0.2%, what you're showing is consistent growth, but it's very low. And of course, consistent growth is hard to attain if you're growing by, multiple percentage points or in and around that figure. Of course, it's going to be hard to keep up. That's the problem with just looking at percentage growth.
Had a few changes of party and government over the last 50 years, really. It happened in 1979, happens in 1997, happens in 2010. Have we got to that point in the electoral cycle where the electorate have made up their minds and they've just...
Material conditions. Is that her quote, though? Is that hers? Or is she taking that from someone? Because that's pretty good. I'll steal it otherwise.
Stopped listening. And that there is nothing that Rishi Sunak can do and nothing that the Conservative Party can do.
These are basic things. It's from Marx. Oh, okay. Yeah. To quote Karl Marx, material condition. I mean, to be fair, when you look at the situation in the UK, right, there's very little to no social mobility. Buying a house or property is almost impossible unless you're rich or you got the bank of mum and dad, which a lot of people don't have. And the bank of mum and dad is looking pretty broke right now because they got their own problems with their mortgage rates going up. So what are you supposed to do? Work hard, save for deposit. 6 years? Work hard for 6 years, and save for a deposit. Like, that's crazy. No one should have to save. You shouldn't have a situation where two people have to save for about 5 or 6 years to get a deposit for a house. It's nuts, especially because house prices keep going up. So every year you get closer to saving up for your deposit. Every year the house price goes up. Amnesty and UN poverty figures and child undernourishment figures for the UK have been consistently appalling. Yeah, NJ posts that clip, that screenshot all the time of how many people austerity have killed. Beaten today by Falkirk, who not going to win the league now. No one cares about the SPL. Look at Ross and Rachel still renting even. Who the hell's Ross and is that a Friends reference? In comparison to elsewhere in the EU. What? We'll see about that. We'll see how safe they are. This more from Goodall.
And the funny thing about low turnout is it's not really the argument you think it is. It's kind of like saying, I didn't get many birthday presents because actually no one turned up to my party, you see?
Oh, burn. Oh, Lord. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, that's a, oh, man. That's nasty, that is. That is a nasty statement to make. That is so funny. Oh, man. I didn't get many birthday presents because no one turned up to my birthday. I was not expecting that. Jesus, that's what they should have put up here.
See, that's why,
Which has happened to everyone on the news agents quite a bit.
Quite a bit,
but we're familiar with.
It is, but I think it's not...
Oh, no one turned up to Goodall's birthday. How sad.
A mitigation.
No.
Like, you being deeply unpopular, it means people literally couldn't be bothered to leave their homes on a sort of fairly balmy February Thursday to actually go out.
And don't forget, you can postal vote. You can vote by post. People can't be asked to vote by post. Like, that's how bad it is. You can literally put it in a letterbox on your way to work or in the shop or something, and they couldn't be asked to do that.
I think it's the same when they say people aren't in love with Labour. Nobody's in love with Keir Starmer. Nobody's in love with...
As if that's the metric. You have to be in love with him.
That's the point I made earlier. Labour didn't actually do that great in these by-elections. It was just a complete Tory collapse.
Adore him.
I know. This is my Valentine's heart to a politician.
Yeah.
I think it's worse because if they don't love Keir Starmer, if they don't love Labour, bloody hell, they really, really hate you if your share of the vote is down 38 points.
I think it's just hatred. It's apathy. It's apathy. I think if they hated Rishi Sunak, they would have voted for Reform or Labour if they hated him. But I don't think they hate him. I think they just don't care for him. It's apathy at the end of the day. Like, hatred is very different to apathy.
You know what I would really worry about if I were Sunak in number 10, and this would sort of just chill me more than anything else. I would just worry that they're at that point in the electoral cycle, which actually only comes once in a generation or so, where it almost doesn't matter what the Prime Minister says or what the government does or what the message is. And don't get me wrong, actually their message has been all over the place and continues to be all over the place. Sunak seems incapable of being able to alight upon a message and a narrative and stick to it.
That's true. He's 5 pledges, then he comes up with some other stuff and some garbage. It's true, that Labour got more votes when they lost. Although obviously, the problem is by-elections are always tricky to read into. I think best case scenario is your base turns out and you win, but Labour's base, the voters in 2019 did not come out in the numbers that they had. It's just the Tory vote collapse was so dramatic that it didn't matter.
But almost irrespective of what they say and do, it's like the public have just stopped listening. That public opinion, people like you and me, we're paid to have opinions, day to day, and we follow these things day to day.
You're a bunch of nerds. I guess I'm also a nerd, but that's not the point.
Public opinion tends to be far more glacial and, only shifts every now and again. But like a glacier, when it moves, it really, really moves. And I would just worry that basically the public made up their mind, arguably at the end of 2022 with Truss, or certainly at some point last year about Sunak. And now we're just waiting until the inevitable, which is certainly what plenty of Conservative MPs seem to be thinking.
I think he's right that the public vote has shifted. I think it's so much apathy. When people needed the government to do something, the government didn't do anything. I think that's what happened. Come up with is Quith. What is Quith? What could they come up with? Oh, you should put a Q in. Sorry. Switching gears, I wanted to discuss this. This is about a clip where Sadiq Khan basically misspoke and the Tories just ran with it. and turned it into like an attack ad. But the problem was they got community noted so fast. Oh God, I hate you, Twitter.
Not been edited; it was clipped, and
that's exactly the
and
same
I think
thing.
That's the, and I think no, it's actually quite different. But I think it's, I think
I work in audio production, Mr. Holden.
No, I think we both know the difference between editing something to misconstrue it or clipping something, and I think the issue.
It's literally that if I can clipping in a way that changes message, editing. Yes, when you clip something, you are making an edit. You're literally taking something out. That's editing a video. If it's a 10-minute video and you take out 10 seconds of that video, you have edited it.
We're trying to highlight, and I think which is really important to British people, is that the Labour Party hasn't changed.
Maybe it's Twitter that's the problem, because this audio clip, there's a weird hiss on this as well. Could it be Twitter's the problem?
Whether it comes to anti-Semitism within it under Keir Starmer.
The Conservative Party shared on social media a selectively edited clip of Sadiq Khan misspeaking during a TV interview. The clip was taken from footage of the Mayor speaking with Sky News, in which he said...
Oh, it was a live interview, okay.
Labour is, quote, proud to be both anti-racist but also anti-Semitic, before correcting himself to add, beg your pardon, tackling anti-Semitism. But the video that you posted on the Conservative social media account stops his words before he makes the correction. Why are you being dishonest and misleading online?
I think it's quite clear that when it comes to the Labour Party at the moment, issues over anti-Semitism are really problematic.
Sure, but why are you putting disinformation about it out into the public domain?
Just a second. And I think the issues we've seen over the last few days, with the Labour leader unwilling for a very long time until he was forced to by MPs to.
I mean, that's you taking a dig at the Labour leadership, which again, the way they dealt with it was so dumb. But Sadiq Khan has very little to do with the Labour leadership. This was a clear dig at Sadiq Khan, especially in an election year.
Select an anti-Semitic, racist Labour candidate, I think actually show that, Times polls have shown this themselves, that people don't believe that the Labour Party has changed when it comes to anti-Semitism.
You're not answering the question, Mr. Holden.
Well, I'm actually talking about the real issue here, which I think is anti-Semitism.
Well, hang on a second. There's a second issue. There is a second issue.
I'm interested in talking about the main issue, right? Which is a main issue which is actually affecting people's. No, let's be very clear.
Hang on a second. How can you say that misinformation published by the Conservative Party is not an important issue to address?
I can tell you now, it's not misinformation to talk about anti-Semitism in the Labour Party.
That's not what I've said. I've said that you've published.
So what he's trying to do is a classic politician's move of answering the question you want to be asked. And I think the host here is doing an okay job. I think he could do a lot better, though.
Misinformation on Sadiq Khan's comments.
Let's be very clear.
I am being clear.
What's happened over the last few months. Back in October last year, at a meeting of senior Labour people in Lancashire, where it's clearly attended by prospective parliamentary candidates, the head of the Labour group, Labour Council group leaders, right? It was clear that anti-Semitic tropes were being talked about widely and openly at that meeting.
We've covered this in great detail on this station.
And nobody within Labour, I think this has been talked about extensively, actually. Nobody in Labour
needs to do a much better job. I would have muted him. I think they need a mute button on these.
Since October last year, nobody in Labour raised that issue. Right? It's almost 6 months. 6 months on from that.
I've asked you about the editing of a video that you've published. It is misinformation. It portrays something inaccurate to people online.
This feels as painful as my debate with Paula Hatman.
What it highlights is an issue of anti-Semitism at the heart of the Labour Party, and it's not been edited; it was clipped.
That's exactly the same thing.
This is where we go back to the starting clip here.
Change when it comes to the idea that they've got plans for huge increases in public spending, but no idea of how to pay for them. And I think those are important issues.
So yeah, classic politician trying to answer the question he wants answered. But when I do the actual video, I'll only about a minute of this footage, really. This from the Tories, though.
I want to ask you finally, if I may, about the official Conservative Twitter account or X account.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, they don't. There's some kinds of racism the public and the media care about, and there are other kinds they don't.
As we call it now. It posted this clip of the Labour Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, today. I know you can't see it, but have a listen.
A party like mine that is proud to be both anti-racist but also anti-Semitic.
And now let me play you another clip, if I may, but it's slightly longer.
And it certainly shouldn't be acceptable in a party like mine that is proud to be both anti-racist but also anti-Semitic.
And we'll come back to some of those.
Beg your pardon, tackling anti-Semitism.
Absolutely.
Sadiq Khan had obviously made a mistake. He corrected himself, but the clip that was put out on the Conservative Twitter account cut him off without him correcting himself. Is that how low the Conservatives are going to go in this election?
Well, I think we should give an accurate portrayal of what somebody said. I mean, that's
so that was a mistake.
clearly he's made a mistake. Yeah, he's made a mistake. I wouldn't support something which clearly was an honest mistake from Sadiq Khan.
So why do you think they put it out?
I've no idea, and that's a question to ask
CCHQ,
I'm sure.
That guy's literally your colleague. You can go ask him. This is the man running the Conservative campaign. You can literally go ask this geezer, what the hell? Why did you do this? He's right near you. It's kind of nuts when you think about it. But it goes to show you, like, they are willing to stoop so low, but some Tory MPs are not happy about that. They're genuinely not happy about it. I think he'd be one of them. This from I've no idea. I'm just a minister. Yeah, true that. What is he? Is he the minister of what? What is he? Business minister as well. He's just like, nope, I don't know much about the campaign or any of that. I'm just a minister. We go on to this from Bryant.
Curtis, who was on earlier, suggesting that while support for Labour might be broad, it is also quite shallow, and that were you to win the election, there would be difficulty in keeping that support together when you've got very, very difficult decisions to make. Do you think, because Labour is so far ahead in the polls, that you are being scrutinised more like a government now?
Oh, definitely. I mean, and that's what Rishi Sunak's plan is, isn't it? It's basically to make it seem so inevitable that we are going to be the government that there should be a referendum on us. And it's perfectly legitimate to question all of our plans.
Yes.
I don't think that's Rishi Sunak's plan. The plan, Rishi Sunak's going to be so trash. We peaked at 52 viewers, that's nuts. We peaked at around 50 viewers, to be fair, which is, I think, record high. He's saying that Sunak's plan is so bad that when people look at Labour, they're like, okay, they're going to be the next government, we need to keep an eye on them. No, that's not. Come on, man. This is one of the dumbest arguments I've ever heard.
We need to enthuse people, absolutely. And when there's a general election, I wish it were tomorrow, then we'll be able to lay out a manifesto and
that hiss is Twitter. They've done something to their audio encoder. It has to be.
And people can assess what they think of our ideas. And we were very positive in the Kingswood by-election. But look, I mean, lots of people have concluded, why have we had all these by-elections? Because Tory MPs have been caught exposing themselves to their staff, bullying staff. In Kingswood, the guy ran off because he simply couldn't bear voting Conservative anymore. The Conservative MP couldn't.
That's true, yeah. I was hoping he would make a clarification, and I did. This is what the world has turned to. Just playing stupid is good enough. True. When did the Tories even try and form a good government? I can't hear any hiss. Maybe it's my headphones then?
And there is a sense that the Tories have sort of given up, but that doesn't mean that we will necessarily win. And what I would say to John Curtis is he's a commentator. He's not a player on the field.
No, sure.
And so I'm very focused on trying to win every vote and on trying to make sure that if we do get into government, we will be a good government that actually had things to do that are worth doing.
Well, quite. And on those...
his criticism of Brian is that, he's not a player in the field. I'm a player, and I'm trying to... What kind of argument is this? So dumb. This is one of the dumbest arguments. He's not a player in the field. Like, okay, that makes his analysis more... what's it called? Thanks, Scribby. It makes his analysis better than yours because you're inherently biased. You are biased towards Labour. Like, obviously he's a Labour MP, Bryant. But him criticising, it's disgraceful, that is. This is a disgrace. But, this analysis here from Bryant is awful. He's like, this man, he's not a player on the field. Okay, great. His analysis is going to be far better than yours.
Those things to do, we've seen that 28 billion figure go. Can you commit that Labour, when in power, would, as it says it would, end 0-hour contracts and make working from home a right?
Yes.
You will do both of those things. Those aren't going to change, Chris Bryant.
That is that.
Now, the problem with this is we saw a poster from Labour saying they would end exploitative 0 hours contracts. Let me see if I can find it quickly. Would end exploitative. Let me see if I can find the image of it. Bear with. I can't. I'm sure, but I saw there was a caveat they added after what's her face? Rayner made the statement.
That is our policy. And look, I mean, it's a perfectly legitimate question to ask, following on from the 28 billion. I think we made the right decision. Obviously, that was a very ambitious commitment of ours. We made it at a time when government borrowing and personal borrowing and mortgages, everybody knows this, was cheap.
You notice how confident he was when he was talking about the Tories and how John Curtis is not a player and blah, 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 right? And as soon as he gets any kind of scrutiny, he's looking so nervous and so shaky. You think like they would prepare about these things?
Now it's very expensive because of what Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng did to the economy.
Yes, what?
We had people on the doorstep in Kingswood saying, you know what, I'm glad that I mean, might have preferred them to say they wanted to do this, but I preferred them to be honest and upfront and straightforward with us before a general election. Right?
Yeah, of course.
My sources that I made it the fuck up.
Yeah, of course they said that. I'm sure they said that. You know, I'm glad that instead of breaking your promise when you got into government, I'm glad you were honest now and broke your promise now.
My sources that I made it the fuck up.
Sure, buddy. Sure. I bet that. So there's more here. This is Sophie Ridge talking to the Shadow Financial Secretary.
Are you comfortable at the
There are way too many of these ministers, honestly.
speed with which Labour reacted once the comments that were made by your candidate in Rochdale were made public?
I'm very comfortable with, and huge.
Let's not forget here that Labour MPs and frontbenchers backed this geezer, not him, the guy who made the statements originally, something we'll discuss in a minute.
Usually respect the way that Keir has acted decisively against anti-Semitism right from day one of his leadership of the party. He made it a priority on day one. He's been ruthless in tearing anti-Semitism out from whatever part of the party.
Numbers keep dipping. It's really weird. It dipped to 38 and it's come straight back in. Maybe people have just lost the stream.
It comes from. And in this latest episode, he's taken a step which I think everyone would recognise is a really huge step to take during a by-election.
It's classic debate tactic. Everyone would recognise. Makes it harder to disagree. Ending 0 hours contract is going to be tricky. We'll have to see how that one works.
Election. Pretty unprecedented, I think, to say that we withdraw support for the person who was the Labour candidate midway through a by-election. And that's how important it is to him, and that's how important it is to us as a party.
It wasn't done immediately, though, was it?
Well, what happened, as I saw it, watching it, there were revelations over the weekend. The candidate issued a fulsome apology, but when further information came to light, the support was immediately withdrawn.
But it wasn't, though, because you backed him because he's on the Labour right. We know this. We've seen it.
For him going into the election. And I think, if you look at quite how, as I say, unprecedented I think this is, to
ending new 0 hours contracts and setting old ones should be easy. Yeah, I think so.
Withdraw support for a candidate mid-by-election, that's a huge step to take. And I think it shows just...
That is true, and I think we will discuss that momentarily.
How tough and serious Keir is about this.
Yeah, he's not that serious, let's be honest. He only became a problem when the media made it a problem.
Position to be in, where we've had to abandon essentially a by-election campaign in a seat that we held, and which was held by a dear colleague of ours who's passed away, and that is not a good position to be in. But the fact that we have made that unprecedented decision, it shows how seriously we take this. And I honestly think, look, all the people criticising the candidate selection in this case are the people to date who've been saying actually Labour's been too strenuous in its due diligence. It's been going...
Labour have been too strenuous. They've done too much work.
Too far in vetting its candidates, but we've done that because of how seriously we've taken.
Oh, right, okay, so Labour... This guy, he probably held these beliefs and may have said it elsewhere, right? The Labour were too strenuous in vetting this guy. I'm sure.
The things that we needed to do to change this. And look at the Labour Party today. It is, I think, a genuinely changed proposition to that what it was at the last general election. And dealing with this issue has been a major part of that.
But you've made people doubt you this week.
Thank you, Sock. Viewing numbers improving. Yes, it's 50. I think that's a channel record. I think that is an actual channel record. 50 subscribers. So we celebrate with Venom Snake hitting 50 live viewers.
Keir Starmer has made some people doubt
Oh yeah, Angela Smith. Oh yeah, funny tinge. Yeah, can't forget that one.
The Labour Party and its promises on anti-Semitism, because you didn't make that unprecedented decision initially. You stood by your candidate despite him reiterating what many described as an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory at a Labour Party meeting.
I mean, it's not many would describe. It kind of is. It kind of was an anti-Semitic theory.
So you stood by him.
Look, I would say on that, this news emerged at the weekend. On Monday, the next working day, that decision was made. There was more information that also came out as part of that process.
He's gaslighting.
So I don't think people can criticise the pace of that decision, nor the scale of what we have done.
They are doing. They're criticising the pace, but the very fact that you stood by him, and people say that's because he was in Keir Starmer's team, whereas other people on the left, like Diane Abbott, are suspended immediately, and they apologise, but they're still suspended.
Look, I think there's absolutely not a shred of credibility to the claim. There's a sort of...
Let's have a look. Labour to restore whip to Neil Coyle after suspension over drunken abuse. This guy who racially abused someone, he was let back in. So it's nonsense.
Factional element in these decisions. Clearly abandoning a by-election is no small decision. That is essentially what we have done, and we've done it for the right reasons, because that was the right response to this.
You did it because the media are all over you, big man. That's why you did it. That's what happened. This should be really... Let's move this over here. So let's have a look at this. The guy here sacked by Starmer for speaking. It's time to teach Starmer a lesson in Rochdale. Vote Azhar Ali. So Azhar Ali has decided to campaign as an independent candidate to teach Starmer a lesson, apparently, which is funny. Honestly, this by-election might be the craziest one on record, because there's no actual Labour candidate to vote for, despite what's happened. And then George Galloway's running as well, and you got this also. So Rayner pushed Starmer to originally stand behind Azhar Ali over his, because she liked him for... What the hell? Why would Rayner... Is she dumb? Wow. And the thing is, we don't know if that's actually true, if Rayner actually said this, especially considering this geezer was in Starmer's camp. He's team Starmer, very pro Starmer, this geezer, Azhar Ali. I think that's nonsense. I'd be very surprised. Those who pushed privately for Starmer to stand behind Ali was the party's deputy leader, Rayner, whose Ashton under-line seat is nearby, and who had known and liked her. I think this is someone briefing against her. Genuinely. The Times has learnt that Labour had been given a full copy of the recording on Saturday, but no one thought to go through it to see what else might be in it. Labour source, it's the first rule of politics. Know exactly what you're dealing with. It's a really bad mistake. Oh no, it's another mistake from the comms team, apparently. Another mistake from the team that are meant to deal with this. Nonsense. There's also an ongoing battle between Sue Gray and the election chief, Morgan McSweeney. Labour source says Sue is trying to get a grip on the machinery of the leader's office, and McSweeney sees that as a power grab, so he's briefing against her. What the hell is this nonsense? Genuinely, what the hell is going on? Oops. What is going on? This lot are lucky that Rishi Sunak's completely brain dead. Genuinely. What is this? It's definitely... it feels like it, doesn't it? It feels like the Starmer camp is briefing against Rayner once again, because we've seen it before. People. Wild. This from Starmer.
Something that no leader of the Labour Party has ever done before, which is to remove a candidate in...
It's because you didn't vet the geezer properly. That's why. You're not vetting people. You're putting team pro-Starmer people in there, and then they turn out to be complete morons.
A by-election where they cannot be replaced, because I was so determined to take decisive action in relation to anti-Semitism.
Was it quick?
And it's a well,
a decision is a decision. You can say it's decisive. You did it, but was it quick enough?
It was decisive. It's never been done before.
Was it done quick?
What do you mean? They literally backed the geezer the next day when these statements come out, when it was made public.
And he is, look, It was done within days, and I think...
Oh, it was done within days. Oh, that's decisive, is it? It was done within days. Not the next day or the day after. It was done after the media were like, are you sure about this?
To remove a candidate in a by-election who cannot be replaced is not a small matter. It's not the same as simply removing a whip.
What do you mean? You've removed the whip from MPs before for lesser offences.
It's a massive decision for any political leader to take.
There's an offensive comment against a community.
Because, in effect, we are giving up a Labour seat. Now, it's the right thing to do, but what it...
Bro, it's a by-election. There's going to be an election probably this year. You're not even giving it up. Not really.
...shows is when there's tough decisions to be made, I take those decisions. That's what I...
You wait days to do them until the media say, are you sure about this? It's kind of dumb, and he's like, I guess I'll have to do the right thing here, me.
Been doing for 4 years, taking tough and ruthless decisions to change this party. I've taken 2 tough and ruthless decisions in the last 10 days. Has it been bumpy?
Are you going to be doing them, making them quicker?
Been bumpy? Yes, of course it's been bumpy. But were they the right decisions? Is the question I ask myself as we get to Friday.
This is honestly, right. This is so painful. Imagine, right. You wake up every day and you have to make videos defending this geezer. Imagine being one of those people. I just couldn't do it. No wonder they focus on the Tories more, because this man's like, it was made within days. It was made within days. That's not decisiveness. God damn. This more stuff. New budget headroom for OBR is now 13 billion. Sources tell Joe Mays and me, that just Alex Wickham, that's a bit worse than the projections were 2 weeks ago. Can still change in the coming weeks. Would make big tax cuts on national insurance or inheritance tax difficult. Which is true, which is what the Tories are planning to do. I don't think the inheritance tax is one they care about that much, but the income tax one is one they want. Going on. This is the last thing I wanted to cover, actually, so we're a bit late, but it's fine. The big man, Mr. Hitman himself, Stephen Flynn.
We need a ceasefire, and we need it now. Since the Israeli bombardment of Gaza began, some 30,000 civilians have been killed, some 70,000 people have been injured, and 90% of the population is close to starvation. In Rafah, an area which is usually home to 180,000 people, 1.4 million people are currently there. And they are under bombardment from the Israeli Defence Force. It's quite clear that enough is enough. We need the UK, we need the US, and we need all of Israel's allies to speak out in favour of a ceasefire. So this week, SNP MPs will be bringing forward a motion to the House of Commons to back an immediate ceasefire. History will judge all of us by our words and by our actions. It's time for MPs to take a stand and back a ceasefire.
And this is where people say, oh, you know, what good it's going to do and blah, blah, blah. Like, these people don't understand how important it is to at least try and put pressure on the international community and other countries. There's a reason why, like, Spain have taken the stance they have, Ireland have taken the stances they had. Because sometimes it's not about winning or losing, it's about doing what's right and doing what you think is the right thing to do, which is to vote for a ceasefire. Last time out, Labour voted against it, but then they put their own motion out, apparently calling for a cessation or something like that, and tried to claim it was a ceasefire. Some nonsense. I'm sure the House of Commons will take SNP's motion with... You know, sometimes you just got to try and do the right thing regardless of if it works or not. It's not about who's right and wrong. Sometimes it's about trying to do the right thing. And in this case, they are trying to do the right thing, which is to, get a ceasefire. This from the SNP.
So today,
the Scottish Labour Party.
I once again say loudly and clearly, the fighting must stop right now. A conference, let me tell you something else about Glasgow. This city has always stood in solidarity against division, intolerance and injustice. 2 years ago, when we last met at our party conference in Glasgow, we showed our...
Maybe you talk about Margaret Hodge? Is that her, Margaret Hodge?
...support for Ukraine following Russia's...
Yeah, Flynn's probably the best geezer there, honestly, the best person there.
...invasion. We demonstrated our solidarity then, and we do so once again today with the people of Ukraine. And this year, tragically, there is also escalating conflict in the Middle East. The loss of innocent life in Israel and in Gaza is an absolute travesty.
Just trying to power through these, sorry.
On October the 7th, we saw the largest loss of Jewish life in any single day since the Holocaust. It was unimaginable, unforgivable, and unjustifiable. And we were right to show our solidarity with the Jewish people and with the people of Israel in the face of that terror. And as I've been clear, the collective punishment of 2.2 million citizens of Gaza is not and can never be a justifiable response to the horror inflicted by Hamas. So today, I once again say loudly and clearly, the fighting must stop right now. That means an immediate ceasefire with an end to rocket fire going into and coming out of Gaza.
Yep.
It means the immediate release of hostages, immediate access to humanitarian aid. That includes essential supplies like water, electricity, medicine, food getting into Gaza, and crucially, immediate efforts by world leaders to forge a path to an enduring peace and to a two-state solution.
He's spitting facts, honestly. But this is the stuff the Labour leadership aren't really talking about that much. I think they've moved on it a fair bit, but the Scots are not genetically wired to... Hey. That lady, Jackie, whatever her name is, that lady's nuts. Is she Scottish, Akis?
Comrades, I've visited the Gaza Strip 15 years ago, and I've actually been to the Al-Shifa hospital. And what I saw there has stayed with me every day since. Incubator parks were not being allowed in for babies. Kidney dialysis machines had been switched off because there wasn't enough fuel.
Yeah, we know that about the hospital. It does require a lot of fuel to function, which I guess most hospitals would do. But it's all been cut off.
Essential medicines were not available. Al-Shifa was barely a functioning hospital then. Now it is nothing but a camp for thousands of destitute civilians cut off from aid. This has been a collective failure of the global community to strive for peace, leading to this humanitarian catastrophe.
You have to put pressure on the party in control of the situation, which is Benjamin Netanyahu and his coalition. You have to put pressure on him and say, look, if you don't stop this, you will face sanctions. That's what has to happen here. That's the only way to stop this.
And in the face of such devastation, we must hold firm to the two-state solution. Because only when we have a safe...
Yeah, it's honestly like the story of the 6-year-old girl who called for help and the ambulances and stuff were targeted by the IDF. There's no defence for that.
Safe, secure state of Israel, side by side with a state of Palestine that is also safe and secure, will we have a long-term peace. And let's be clear, Palestinian statehood is not the gift of a neighbour, it is the right of the Palestinian people.
Yep, that's true. Again, Cameron was talking recently about recognising a Palestinian state. You got Scottish Labour now backing a Palestinian state. What Labour's official position in it is on this is a bit weird because they make different statements on different days. So it's hard to know which one you're looking to believe, really. But at least, you know what? I know a lot of people give Anasawa a lot of stick, and he does deserve it sometimes. But at least on this specific issue, he's done well. Put some respect on his name. He's done well.
But we must separate Hamas from the...
Yeah, because they don't need to say it. They don't need to keep saying we're the most moral army and all this stuff. They know they're going to get away with it. So why don't you take it with... I think he will... I would not be surprised if him, Khan and Burnham were not putting pressure on Labour.
Palestinian people. They have no interest in peace and are a terrorist organisation. And we must also separate from the Israeli people Benjamin Netanyahu and his far-right government, because he is not interested in peace either. The people of Palestine and the people of Israel are desperate for peace, but they're being failed by bad faith actors on both sides and by the international community. And that is why, as distant as it may feel, we must keep on the light for peace. Because ultimately, only when every life is treated as equal will we see the lasting peace that the people of Palestine and the people of Israel so desperately need and so desperately deserve.
It's a good speech. The question is, how are you going to achieve your goals? That's what we need more of. But I hope Labour back the ceasefire motion by the SNP. I hope they do. But I imagine if Starmer is smart, he would back it, or at least allow a free vote. If he's going to continue his stupidity, he ain't going to do it. Well, evidently not, because he broke lines with Starmer very early. He called for a ceasefire very early, so I don't think he will do whatever Starmer says. I don't think he's even got that much control over Scottish Labour, anyways. I don't think he does, because Sal was elected by the party as well, so I don't think he would have that much of a say over He literally did. He literally did. Let me see if I can find the earliest one. Yeah, apparently he said he's refused to say if he backs the SNP's one, which is so dumb. Let's see. Date. I will find this at some point and I will send it. Let's see. This is all recent. That's the problem. Let me see if I go back. Filters. Tools. So look at that. October. Let's see. Bear with me. I'll put up on the screen once I found the bit I want. So look at this. October 30th. This was, I think, fairly soon after the conflict actually started, right? This is the response. Scottish Labour leader and London Mayor both added pressure on UK leader for a call to end the violence last week. So this would have been the middle of October he made the statement. Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham also called for a ceasefire. And then this guy, he called him a little man. Harry Potter over here. So he did. Like, don't know what your beef is with him, Ackies, but he literally did. Well, look at what happened the last time the SNP got a vote for no one. What? Most of the oil and gas reserves is off the shore. See the link? I mean, it's possible, yeah, but they wanted to take all the land and they've seen their opportunity and they're going for it. That's all this is. Let's see. Yeah, we can go for one more.
That this was a murder. Putin has tried to murder Navalny multiple times, and the reason is to silence that dream of freedom that so many Russians...
I think if Putin wanted him dead earlier, the guy would be dead. Like, ask Davey or Jenny. Akis, we've had this discussion before, and I showed you the evidence of it. He backed a ceasefire very early on.
...have and that he represented.
The middle of October, he called for a ceasefire. And the attacks... The Hamas attacked Israel October 7th. So, you know, unless you're going to argue like, oh, because he said it a week later or whatever, he was late to it. It's not really. He might have said it slightly after Hamza Yusuf did, but it wasn't that far after.
You were already calling for more sanctions before you said Alexei Navalny dies in prison. But there are already so many sanctions against Russia. Are there any more to impose?
Well, I think, look, President Biden was very clear that if Navalny was to lose his life, was to be murdered in one of these penal colonies, then there would be severe repercussions.
I don't think Biden's going to do shit, to be honest with you. I think if I were him, Biden's got to look at personal sanctions, more personal sanctions on Putin. He's got to really go after the oligarchs a lot more aggressively. But I think the best way to annoy Putin with this is to give Ukraine better weapons. That's what's going to piss him off the most. He couldn't bring himself to use the word. Bro, I'm telling you, oh my days. I'm gonna send you some stuff. Once I do, I expect you to bring back, like, bro, like, you're just talking mad shit, fam.
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
Literally, that's what's going on here in chat.
It is now for us to do that. The natural thing to do is to seize those frozen assets, seize those Russian central state assets, and use them to pay for the defence of Ukraine.
So I've seen an interesting video on this where they were saying, like, if we seize Russian assets, Russia can also seize assets that are there in Russia that were frozen originally, and use that money. And I can't remember the clearinghouse's name. It was... Oh, hello, Yura. It was... Who did the video? Was it... Warographic. I think it was Warographic that did the video. Was this geezer here? I think it was him. It was either him or it was William Spaniel. Where is it? Can we take... Ah, here it is.
Right now, as you watch from the comfort of your home.
Bear with. I beg he doesn't copyright claim me for that. This video here, he actually discusses this. So what I'll do is I'll bang this in chat because it's not as
right now.
It's not as simple as just that. And I'll probably put physio done. Nice. I'll probably put some more clips up. I've got to go because I'm running late. I'm running very late. No, I think that's more about him trying to rebuild the old Soviet Empire. I think that's what it is. He doesn't want to see, he's already, if you look at the Baltic countries are already in the EU and some of them are in NATO. I think he really didn't want Ukraine in there, and that's what I think baited him into the attack. And the idea that they wouldn't do anything. I think the idea that the West wouldn't do anything because we did little to nothing over. But I don't think it will. The SNP, yeah, sure, they did call for it from day one. I gave him credit for that. But if he calls for it a week later, that doesn't mean he's late to something. That's moronic. I think it was there within about a week of things breaking out. He called for a ceasefire when Israel started blowing up stuff indiscriminately. Let's see, the Donbass. Yeah, we literally did nothing. And I think his gamble was, well, they didn't care about Crimea. They ain't going to do anything now. He went the wrong way about it. What? Who are you talking about? SNP Sinn Féin called for... Yeah, they did. And that's the right thing to do. Even Cameron has called for a ceasefire now. Yeah, now. In, what month are we in? February. Yeah, now. Yeah, big credit to Big Man over there. But anyways, I'm going to go because I need to... I've got other plans. So I'll see you guys probably next Saturday. I need to check out... I'm going to be on vacation at some point as well in about 2 weeks. So... the next 2 live streams will be the last ones, for a bit, and then I'll go on vacation. I don't know if I'll do a stream on the 16th. I'll have to figure it out, see what I plan. But yeah, there'll be 2 live streams over the next 2 weeks. Then after that, I'll be on vacation. Why wasn't he fired? Other Labour MPs, because he can't fire him. That's why he can't fire him. He's elected by the party. Just like he can't get rid of the of Rayna as a deputy leader because she was elected by the party into that position. That's the difference. Just like he can't fire Sadiq Khan, he can't fire Andy Burnham because of that. Come on, bro. Like Akis, you're better than that. Come on, bro. Come on, man. Like, I'm getting big Armstrong vibes here.
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
That's what I'm hearing right now. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Around 40 plus viewers is pretty wild. That's what, is really high. This is the highest I think I've gotten. So yeah, thanks everyone for that. I really appreciate it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you next Saturday for a live stream. Bye-bye.